guys, Tara here in the craft cabin. Hope you are well. I'm here today to show you how to decoupage. So decoupage is a very simple gluing technique that you can use on any bits and pieces really. So from pieces of furniture to bought little shapes to even a pair of tatty old shoes, you can turn into something fabulous with some very simple materials. For this class you're going to need some decoupage glue, we love Mod Podge, some paint brushes, some paint and something to decoupage on. Before I get to it, don't forget to check out thecraftcabin.ie. You'll get loads of how-tos and resources there on lots of crafty goodness. So let's decoupage. Hello guys, so just want to show you how to decoupage. So decoupage has made this. You could do something like this. You could do something like this. Or you could turn something tatty like shoes into something beautiful like this. So I'm going to show you all the basics that you could actually go and make these after this class. So let me show you. So 3 things you need in decoupage. You need decoupage glue. We love Mod Podge. So Mod Podge is a PVA based glue, but it's also a sealer and a finisher as well. It has a bit of a gloss on it. So there's lots of different types. So there's fabric ones, there's a glitter one, we love this one. But the one that I use the most is Mod Podge Gloss or Mod Podge Matte. Both of those are really good. So that's your glue. You need a little bit of paint. So we just use the Do Crafts Artiste paint. So white and cream are going to be your favorites. You're going to use the most. You're going to need some paint brushes. So we love these really soft paint brushes so they don't lift your papers. And the most important then is some napkins or decoupage papers. So these are just ordinary simple napkins that you would buy in any shop. The good thing about us is that we sell them all individually because you get so much out of one napkin that buying a whole pack of them is just far too much. You can also buy decoupage papers which come like this, which are just very thin little papers that you can use as well. You can also use things like magazines and wrapping papers. So I find a lot of times napkins are very feminine, so sometimes using magazines you can get more kind of boy type stuff in it. So yeah, so that's your materials. So I'm going to show you how to actually decoupage. So we are going to use this as a sample. So we are going to do a napkin today. So to actually decoupage, the first thing you're going to do is choose the item you're going to decoupage on. So on this one I have just chosen a little wooden piece. So you can buy pieces like this on our website, like these, or that's the little shape I have. So these are all little MDF shapes that you can use, but you can also use things around the house and recycle. That's one of the things I love about decoupage, is that you can turn something tatty into something fabulous. So the piece that you have, you're going to choose it. The next thing you want to do is to paint it, to put a background on it of some sort. So this is just a sample that I use in our classes. We do decoupage classes in the shop, just to show you that it's really important to have a background on it that's going to make your piece really pop. So on this one I have a little bird on it. If I don't paint it, it looks like this. So it just doesn't pop as much, and also you see the edging as well. So it's always really important to match the background of your napkin to the colour of the piece that you're decoupaging onto. So for example, you might also use cream. So this napkin is more of a creamy base, so I would paint it cream. This napkin is more of a white base, so I would use white. So it's just to make it pop and to make it look just a little bit more professional. So once I have my piece that I'm going to paint it, let it dry. I use either chalk paints or the likes of these, which are acrylic paints. Acrylics are brilliant, they adhere to everything. With chalk paints sometimes they're a little bit more delicate, but give a lovely chalky effect that really does actually lend itself to decoupage. So I have my piece painted, ready to decoupage. I am going to use this napkin. So what you want to do with decoupage is you want to be able to pull out pieces or take pieces from your napkin. You might use, if you're using papers, you might use all of the paper, so you don't actually need to pull anything out. You're going to use all of the paper like I would have done on this. So I've just covered the whole entire piece with paper. But a lot of times with decoupage you want to pull out certain elements. So if I look at this piece, I have pulled out all these individual elements and used them in different ways on my piece. So with this one I'm going to pull out these sections here. I'm going to put some are they hummingbirds? I don't even know what they are. Little birds anyway. I'm going to pull these out. Just to say, sometimes you might need to pull them out, which I'm going to show you how to do. Cutting them out might be the best thing. So something that has a very straight edge, or if it has nice angles to it, cutting out might be the thing to do on it. So with this here, I might cut it out just because it's a nice smooth edge. But most times you will end up pulling out pieces. So by pulling out, it's just very simply taking the edge wherever it is, whatever one I'm looking at taking out. So I'm taking this one out and I'm just going to pull it apart. What I like to do is just to pinch my thumbs and fingers together, and all I'm literally doing is pulling it apart. So sometimes you can go too close and you can pull the pattern out, so don't go too close. You can always go around it a second time and go a little bit tighter with it. What you're trying to do is try and get it close to the edge that you're feathering it. So the idea of pulling it out is feathering it so it's not a harsh edge on it when it isn't a harsh edge on the pattern. So again, I'm pulling that out. Sometimes what I might do in that case, I might just pull out rather than trying to hold the whole napkin in my hand, and now go around like that, pulling bits off. And sometimes you can make calls on things. So we do lots of butterflies in here, and sometimes if I had to go around all the antennae of a butterfly, it would take far too long. So sometimes you might cut pieces out, or if there's a flower sitting on a branch or on a stem, you might just cut the stem out of it. So you decide. Napkins are done in 3 plies, so you have 3 layers. In decoupage, you only use the very top layer, so you need to take the layers off. I don't take the layers off until I've pulled it out. Some people do, when they're at this stage, they pull apart all the layers. I find if you do it at that stage, when you start to pull out, that it's even more delicate. So I like to keep it as thick as I can until I have it pulled out, and then pull out my edges. So if you see, this one is already started, so there's one. The second edge is often difficult, so I wet my fingers a little bit and just try and fluff up the edges. Of course, when I'm on camera, it'll not do this for me. Oh, it will. So there we go. So there I have my 2 edges that is rubbish, and now I'm left with this little piece here. Okay, so now I have my item prepped. So I have this prepped, I have this prepped. So I would pull out all of these. So if I was doing a big decoration with lots of different elements, I'd pull them all out first. I would get the item I'm going to decoupage onto. I'm just decoupaging onto this for today. And I would lay my pieces down. I would look at, if I'm doing a whole piece, laying them all out first, making sure I have them all the way that I want them. Take a little picture of them so you remember what way you wanted them to begin with, and then take them all off and we'll start decoupaging. So I've put a little bit of decoupage glue into a bowl here and my brush. I'm taking a little bit of decoupage glue. With napkins, because they're so fine, you don't need a lot of glue on the base. In fact, you don't really need to put glue on the base at all because it will soak through very much so on the top. But just to hold it, I like to put a little dab of glue on the base and place the piece down. Just dab it so it's holding it, and then I'm going to go over it. If I was doing something like a paper, the thicker it is, the more glue you're going to need. I would definitely put glue underneath this. And again, you want to saturate the material with your glue, so the thicker the piece is, the more glue that you're going to need. But this one, because it's so thin, just a little dab of glue just to hold it in place, and a little bit more glue, and I'm going to decoupage it out. So always from the middle out to the sides. What you want to do is try and get all the air out of it. You also want to prevent wrinkles. So the best way to prevent wrinkles, again, is pushing it out all the way. If I have a piece that's very big, I would probably hold the napkin and push it out with my brush. Again, just to get the wrinkles and the air bubbles out. So now I have glued this piece down. So what's important with this is, you can't see it on the camera, but when you do glue an area, I can see the edge of the glue all around it. It's very important that you use the glue to cover the entire area that you're working on. What happens if you don't is you end up with a line, kind of a wet line all around your piece. So you want to make sure that it's equally wet all over, so it's a nice even look when it's finished. So I would leave that to dry now. It'll only take a couple of minutes to dry, and I will go over it again to give it another layer of decoupage. Oftentimes with decoupage I don't do varnish, so these ones here I didn't do a varnish, this one here I didn't do a varnish for example, but on this one I did do a varnish, so it is a little bit more glossy, and that's all varnish is, it's just going to make it a little bit glossy. But with your Mod Podge you will find that you will get a little gloss on it anyway, so oftentimes you don't need a varnish. So that's Decoupage 101. We've lots of other techniques. If you look at this one, for example, we have a craquelure effect on it, which is a more advanced technique. Using paints then as well on your decoupage as well, it's another advanced technique, which we'll do in another video. But for now, this is decoupage. You're going to use your Mod Podge, you're going to use some paint, you're going to use something to decoupage on, and a paintbrush, and you're going to create a masterpiece. So check on our website for more information on decoupage or for any of the how-tos in our series. Take care.